Caleb's incredible faith, a divine warrior's miraculous victory over giants in Hebron Unveiled. In the 3rd year of Jehoiakim, the Lord's promise was unfolding as Joshua, the son of Nun, prepared to lead Israel into the rich lands of Canaan. After decades of wandering in the wilderness, the time had come to claim the inheritance sworn to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Among the multitude, the spirit of Caleb, a stalwart member of the tribe of Judah, surged with fervor as he emerged, resolute from the deserts of Sinai not merely as a survivor of trials, but as a man of unparalleled faith. Standing before Joshua, Caleb's eyes sparkled with the light of decades of hope. "Do you remember, Joshua?" he declared, his voice steady and commanding. "When we surveyed the land at Kadesh Barnea, I returned with an honest report, proclaiming the abundance that awaited us, while the others trembled in fear, forgetting the power of our God." Those memories flooded his heart, recalling the richly clustered grapes, the promised land flowing with milk and honey, and the courageous spirit that ignited his resolve. "Even amidst giants, the descendants of Anak, I knew in my spirit that our God would grant us victory." The weight of the moment mirrored the passion of his youth, a truth that had survived the dust and trials of 45 years in the wilderness. 45 years waiting on this promise. "Give me the hill country of Hebron." Caleb's words rang true like a battle cry as he pointed towards the rugged terrain that loomed, ominous yet invigorating. Joshua gazed at his old friend, the leader's wisdom echoing in his heart. "So it shall be, Caleb, for your heart has followed the Lord wholeheartedly. The mountains are yours." Caleb felt the warmth of affirmation, yet shadows of uncertainty occasionally clouded his thoughts. As he prepared his men for battle against the Anakim, he questioned the weight of giants in full armor that still occupied the land. But resolve quickened within him, fueled by the poignant reminder of God's promises. He assembled his warriors and led them forward, proclaiming, "Our God is with us." As they marched, Caleb's spirit surged with resolve. They forged ahead with swords held high, confronted by the mountain's rugged terrain and the intimidating shadows of the Anakim that loomed before them. Before we continue with this incredible biblical account, I want to make sure you don't miss any of these powerful scripture stories. Click the bell icon and select all notifications. These biblical narratives have transformed countless lives throughout history. If God's word through this story is blessing you, please like and share with someone who needs to hear about God's faithfulness today. Tell me in the comments, which biblical story has most impacted your faith journey? I'm always amazed how God's word speaks to hearts across generations. Now let's continue with what the Lord did next. Caleb's heart pulsed with anticipation as the dust kicked up by their marching feet swirled around them. The hill country of Hebron awaited, the air charged with promise and peril intertwined. Once more, he felt the unity of his people rallying behind him, fear giving way to courage, hope igniting at the thought of a long-awaited victory. The struggle was not merely against flesh and bone, but against the doubts that had long plagued them. With every step, Caleb resolved to prove that when God issues a promise, it shall not return void. As the sun began to set, casting golden hues upon the warriors, a deep silence seemed to engulf the land. The stakes were high. Would faith overcome the overwhelming odds? Would promises transform into reality? Gazing at the mountainous land beneath the twilight sky, Caleb's heart roared, summoning both his own faith and the spirits of those who had come before him. The battle for Hebron had begun, echoing the questions of generations, and Caleb stood as a beacon of unwavering trust before the looming challenges. His spirit ignited. He was poised to claim what his God had promised, a victory unfolding beneath the heaven's watchful gaze. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows across the rugged hills of Hebron, the air thickened with expectation. Caleb, now poised before his steadfast warriors, raised his head toward the heavens, seeking both courage and clarity from the Lord. "Hear me, my brothers. We do not stand alone, for the Almighty has gone before us and shall make the way clear." His voice echoed, firm as the stone beneath their feet, kindling resolve in the hearts of the men gathered before him. The stars began to gleam in the twilight sky, witnesses to the fervor of their intent. Each warrior felt the weight of destiny pressing upon them, a collective heartbeat synchronized with a promise spoken long ago. Our forefathers were faithful, and though they wandered through endless trial, the Lord remained their light. Caleb continued, his eyes burning with conviction. Tonight we reclaim what has long been promised. As dawn broke, they set out across the rough terrain, Caleb leading the charge. Suddenly, a great fear loomed in their hearts as the figures of the Anakim rose before them, fully armed and fierce. But Caleb, unyielding and fearless, took a step forward, his voice unwavering. Fear not, for the battle belongs to our God. As he delivered our ancestors from Egypt, so shall he deliver us again. The ground trembled as the two forces converged, the clang of swords and the cries of warriors ringing through the valleys. Caleb thrust his sword with great zeal, rallying those near him, shouting forth, "Remember his faithfulness." The walls of Jericho were no match for the might of our God. His words pierced the air, rekindling the flames of faith amongst his brethren. The Anakim fought fiercely, but Caleb's resolve ignited a fervor among the Israelites. Each blow struck against the giants was not for mere conquest, but for the loyalty to their God who had brought them to this moment. With each clash, the echoes of divine promise reverberated, solidifying their trust. Victory belongs to those who trust in the Lord. He bellowed, a battle cry resonating through the thickening tumult. As the sun rose higher, the tide began to turn. Their eyes looked not just upon an enemy, but upon the vision of hills laden with blessings awaiting reclamation. The might of Caleb's faith became their banner, and with every defeated giant, a step closer to the fulfillment of God's promise was taken. But in the midst of great triumph, Caleb sensed the still, small voice of the Lord whispering secrets yet unspoken within his spirit. The victories of the day were not merely for Hebron. Deeper layers of God's plan began to unfold in the hearts of men, echoing into a future unknown. As dusk fell once more, the combat ceased, and the air filled with an eerie calm, a moment laden with revelation. Exhausted yet exhilarated, Caleb knelt among the spoils, bowing his head in praise. You have shown us might, O Lord, but what greater purpose lies hidden in this moment? And then came the angel of the Lord, standing tall against the shadow of the mountains, proclaiming with authority, the promise is not confined to this day. For through the lands you shall walk, a descendant shall rise, leading all nations to know the name of the one who is faithful. Caleb stood, a shiver racing down his spine as the weight of the revelation settled upon him. The battle for Hebron had just begun, opening the door to greater conquests far beyond what they had anticipated, a promise echoing through generations. What greater journey awaited them in the unfolding tapestry of God's sovereign plan? Only time and faith would unveil the mystery. As the dawn of a new day stretched its golden fingers over the land, Caleb felt the fervor of the Lord's presence still coursing through his veins. The battlefield, once echoing with the clash of swords, lay silent, marked by the remnants of a fierce struggle. The bodies of the fallen, both Israelite and Anakim, bore testament to the miraculous intervention of God. Even now, as the sun bathed the hills in brilliant light, Caleb could sense a greater fight lying ahead, one that would not only mold the destiny of his people, but would resonate throughout promised generations. He called forth the leaders of the tribes, gathering them in a circle near the place where he had fallen in prayer the night before. Brothers, behold God's hand upon us. Today, Hebron stands liberated, not merely for our present need, but as the very stake in the ground of an enduring promise that our forefathers clung to. His voice bore the authority of a prophet, the fire of a warrior, and the heart of a shepherd. Indeed, the land before them was bounteous. Grapes as big as a man's hand lay upon the ground, and olive trees flourished under the sun's embrace. The stones of Hebron whispered tales of generations, proclaiming God's unwavering faithfulness, inviting them to partake in the abundance prepared for them. Yet in Caleb's heart, a stirring called for vigilance, for he knew that the road ahead would require more than brute force. Let us send forth spies, Caleb proposed, as murmurs of consideration flowed among the warriors. Let us seek to understand the fullness of what lies beyond this victory. What cities await within this land? What strongholds must we yet overcome? For the Lord has said to be both bold and wise. Knowledge tempered with faith will be our strongest weapon." The leaders nodded, and so they elected 12 men, a representative from each tribe, to scout the regions surrounding Hebron. With hearts full of purpose and eyes set upon the horizon, the spies ventured forth, drawn by a promise that lingered like sweetness upon their lips. As they journeyed into the valleys and over rolling hills, each step seemed laden with anticipation. Days passed with their reports fluctuating between awe and alarm. The blessings were abundant, yet the fortified cities loomed ominously like dark clouds against the bright sky. "Indeed, the land is as milk and honey," they declared upon their return, "but the inhabitants are giants. We seemed but grasshoppers in their sight." Caleb, steadfast in his belief, raised his voice above the din of fear. "Do not forget who goes before us. The Lord our God, who has delivered us from bondage, shall lead us into victory over every foe. For he is with us. Our fears, like those of our ancestors in the wilderness, will not guide our steps. Let us rise and take hold of what has been promised." Amidst the clamor of doubt and dismay, Caleb's unwavering faith ignited a flicker of hope in those who would listen. The seeds of divine tension grew in their hearts, urging them toward a collective choice: would they remain paralyzed by fear or rise with the courage of conviction? That night, as Caleb sought rest beneath the starry sky, he lifted his face toward heaven. "O Lord, you desire more than our mere conquests. Show us the deeper truth in this journey," he prayed. And in that sacred moment, the Lord replied, whispering of a sacrifice greater than victory, promising not just land but a legacy, a lineage through which a Savior would arise. What awaited in this unfolding drama of faith stood beyond their comprehension, but the revelation lingered like a fragrance, drawing hearts to the holiness of God's unfathomable plan. The answer would emerge from both their battles and their faith, a destiny entwined in His sovereign purpose, unveiling a glimmer of a redemption yet to come. As dawn's light kissed the hills anew, a sense of urgency simmered in the hearts of the children of Israel. The reports of the spies echoed like thunderous warnings, rattling the foundations of their faith. With Caleb's steadfastness resonating in their ears, they gathered again, not only to recount their discoveries, but to weigh the burden of their fear against the weight of divine promise. "Brothers," Caleb proclaimed, his voice a clarion call amidst the murmurs of dread, "do we march forward in faith, or shall we succumb to despair? For have we not seen with our own eyes the hand of the Almighty? The land is good. It flows with milk and honey. Why, then, do we allow the sight of giants to steal the breath of courage from our lungs?" In that very moment, a voice rose from the crowd, laden with doubt. It was the voice of 10 spies, shrouded in condemnation. "Caleb, it is true. The land is splendid, but it is inhabited by the fierce offspring of giants, men of renown. Compared to them, we are but mere grasshoppers." Their eyes darted about, seeking both validation and assurance from their brethren. "Indeed, we must not dismiss the strength of our adversaries," Caleb countered, "but let us not forget the might of our God. When we stand before the Almighty, even the mountains shall tremble and the strongest walls crumble. Our battle is not against flesh and blood, but against the fear that seeks to bind the hearts of His chosen ones." The commotion stirred the assembly, and the doubts were palpable. They wrestled with a spiritual tension, caught between the faith that Caleb offered and the fear that had gripped their hearts. In the midst of this turmoil, Joshua, Caleb's faithful companion, stepped forward, his countenance radiating the peace of divine assurance. "Brothers, let us not rebel against the Lord. If He delights in us, He will bring us into this land and give it to us. Fear not the giants, for they are but bread for us. Their protection has departed from them, and the Lord is with us." A hush fell over the crowd, for the weight of hope hung in the air, delicate yet potent. But the voice of the dissenters, emboldened by the general unease, would not yield. "Shall we forsake the counsel of our own eyes? We must go back to Egypt rather than face the fate that awaits us." As the murmurs of disappointment grew louder, Caleb's heart ached at the thought of turning away from the inheritance promised to them. He fell to his knees, lifting his hands to heaven once more, tears mingling with dirt, the cries of his soul rising upward as incense to the throne. "O Lord, grant strength to this wavering people. Reveal your glory amidst our fears. Show us your mighty works, so that our hearts may not falter. And in response, a cloud formed above them, a shadow of the divine, a manifestation of glory visible to all. It descended in might, enveloping the assembly in thundering silence, their eyes widening as the presence of God poured out a single penetrating message. How long will you refuse to trust me? I have led you through the wilderness, and I have promised you the land. Your murmurs are heard, but know this, your day of reckoning draws near. With the weight of God's judgment seated heavily on their hearts, they trembled, yet a seed of divine determination began to take root within the faithful. Caleb rose, for he knew the Lord's voice must prevail over every human fear. Listen, we stand on the threshold of destiny. Will you not silence the voice of doubt and trust in the Lord's unfailing promise? The victory is ours, for he fights for us. As Caleb rallied those willing to stand with him, a new resolve sparked in the assembly. They began to move slowly at first, then with newfound urgency towards the conquered land, compelled by the voice of the Lord echoing in their hearts and the whisper of his promise stirring their souls. But even as hope flickered like a candle in the wind, darkness lingered in the corners of their hearts, harboring doubts yet to be expunged. And as the sun set on the horizon, casting shadows long and deep, Caleb felt the divine presence gather around him once more, whispering secrets of what lay beyond their immediate trials. There would be battles, but also moments of grace. For in their trials, a greater redemption was woven through each challenge, a legacy that would not only shape their future, but herald the coming of a Savior. The very Redeemer whose roots would rise from the legacy they would forge through faith and courage. With hearts entwined in a greater purpose, the veil of the future loomed ahead, and what awaited them was beyond imagination. A revelation was coming, for the very land they yearned to claim was a stepping stone into a divine narrative yet unfurling. The path to promise beckoned, and mystery beckoned at the edge of dusk. What more would the Lord unveil in his sovereign plan? And so, as the assembly began their march, stirring with a mixture of fear and faith, the voice of the Lord thundered once more in their ears, lighting the way before them. Go forward, for I have given you the land, and no foe shall stand before you. Trust in me, and I shall deliver them into your hand. The Israelites moved, their hearts racing with a blend of trepidation and resolve. The weight of their journey pressed down upon their shoulders, yet lifting their eyes to the hills, they remembered the words of their God. For with each step, the promises echoed in their minds. Fear not, for I am with you. Be not dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you. I will help you. I will uphold you with my righteous right hand. Isaiah 41 verse 10. Days turned into nights, and in that sacred rhythm of their pilgrimage, they encamped at Kadesh Barnea, poised to cross into the land promised to their forefathers. In the solitude of the night, Caleb found himself upon a high ridge, overlooking the vast expanse of the tribes of Israel, the moon dappling the grounds in silver light. His heart was restless, and in fervent prayer, he beseeched the Lord once again. Almighty One, grant me strength as I stand before the giants. Let your power flow through me, that I may be a vessel for your will. As dawn broke anew, their destination lay before them, the cities fortified, the enemies looming as shadows against the horizon. Caleb gathered the people, his voice a beacon of hope piercing through the looming dread. Brothers and sisters, be strong and courageous. Remember what the Lord has done. He brought us out of Egypt. He parted the sea. He fed us with manna. We are his chosen ones, and he will not forsake us. Yet the murmurs of unease swirled amongst the multitude. What if we are defeated? What if they overpower us? They whispered, the specter of doubt latching onto their spirits. Then spake Joshua, loyal and true. Hear me, O Israel. The Lord has promised victory. The giants are but shadows compared to the greatness of our God. He shall fight for us. Let our faith be greater than our fears. With a growing fervor, they prepared, gathering their weapons and aligning their hearts. In unity, they could sense the atmosphere began to shift. The fear that once chained them slowly dissolved beneath the glow of divine assurance. With Caleb leading the charge, they knew the battles ahead were not only for land, but for the inheritance of their faith. As they neared Jericho, the walls seemed to loom larger than life. and Caleb turned to the people. Remember, the battle belongs to the Lord. We are not mere men. We are soldiers of the Most High. To the world, we may seem as grasshoppers, but in his eyes, we are giants for his glory. When the time came to face Jericho, the strategies of their own understanding felt inadequate. Yet Caleb stood firm, trusting in the Lord's direct command. We shall march around the city for 6 days, and on the 7th day, we shall shout with a great shout, for the Lord has given us this city. He rallied the men of war, and they followed with a heart beating in tandem with God's instruction. As the 7th day dawned, they gathered in silence, led by the spirit of obedience. And when the day's sun held its zenith, Caleb raised his hand, a signal for their voices to rise in a climactic shout, proclaiming the faithfulness of their God. The walls trembled, and with a rumbling crack that echoed like thunder, they crumbled before them. Victory! Caleb cried, as the dust settled, and their feet trod upon the ground that had long been promised. The land now lay beneath their feet, ripe for the taking. Yet in the stillness, another whisper lingered, and from this communion of faith, a greater story shall unfold, one that beckons the hearts of all nations to return to me. Thus, they stood within the ruins of Jericho, a harbinger of what would come, a legacy that, through courage, obedience, and faith, would herald the coming of the one who would conquer the greatest giants of all. And Caleb, heart pounding with divine purpose, sensed a stirring in the spirit. How vast, how great, how mysterious are the ways of the Lord! What other revelations awaited on this path, yet to unfold? As the dust of Jericho settled and the echoes of their triumphant shout faded into the air, a new resolve ignited within the hearts of the Israelites. They had witnessed the might of their God, and in that moment of victory, Caleb's voice rang clear. "O Israel, the Lord has given us this land, but our journey does not end here. The mountains of Hebron await us, and there lie the giants." The people stirred, their spirits invigorated by the remnants of glory and the promise of further conquest. Under the leadership of Caleb and Joshua, they prepared to advance, their hearts beating in rhythm with the divine call that echoed through the valleys. "Let us rise." Caleb beckoned with fire in his eyes. "For the battle is ours, and we shall claim the inheritance set before us." The march to Hebron was filled with anticipation, yet the shadows of uncertainty loomed as they approached the heights. Caleb gazed upon the rugged terrain and recalled the words of the Lord spoken to Moses. "Every place where you tread shall be yours." Deuteronomy 11 verse 24. He sensed the heaviness of the land, its challenges daunting, but his faith surged as he reflected on the covenant established with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. He stirred the hearts of the men to remember their heritage, reminding them that they were destined to dwell in the lands promised to their forefathers. Upon reaching Hebron, Caleb felt the weight of the legacy this mountain ground had once belonged to giants. He turned to Joshua, whose heart similarly burned with fervor. "This land was promised to us, and we shall reclaim it. Give me this mountain," Caleb exclaimed, once again fueled by the very fire that had sustained him through the years. It was not mere land he sought, but a legacy of faith, a testament to the God who had led them from the bondage of Egypt. The cities of Hebron, with their formidable walls and inhabited by descendants of the fearsome Anakim, were a sight that could have unnerved any other, but not Caleb. "These giants may have terrorized the hearts of our brethren," he proclaimed, his voice resonating with authority, "but they are nothing in the sight of our powerful God. We will take this city as a declaration of his glory." The leaders strategized in fervent prayer, seeking guidance from the God who had parted the waters and subdued the foes of Israel. As they approached the stronghold of the Anakim, the air thickened with the tension of fear, but Caleb stood firm. "Who will stand with me? Who will believe that we are able to conquer? For he has given us the strength." One among them whispered doubts, recounting tales of giants with great stature. Yet, Caleb's faith saw beyond the present challenges. He spoke resolutely, "It is not by our might we shall prevail, but by the Spirit of the Lord, whose promise cannot fail." As the battle commenced, the sun blazed high above, reflecting the divine light in which the hearts of the Israelites were enveloped. The ground shook with the tumult of clash and conflict, but amid the chaos, The voice of Caleb ignited a spark of unwavering hope. Charge forward, for the Lord fights for us. He has already given us victory. With each swing of the sword and every shout of praise, the walls of fear that had barricaded their faith began to crumble. The final yell signifying triumph echoed through the mountains and valleys as the giants fell before them in that sacred hour, with the dust of battle settling around them. A silence enveloped the people as Caleb raised his arms to the heavens, his heart swelling with gratitude. The Lord has delivered us, and from this day forth, let it be known that our God is a mighty fortress, a refuge in our battles. Yet a deeper understanding began to dawn upon Caleb, whispered within his spirit a revelation of something far greater entwining their journey. For what was achieved today is merely a shadow of the promise yet to come, when all nations shall be gathered to seek the one who is the embodiment of victory. Every heart paused in wonder at the unfolding of God's sovereign plan, realizing that even within their triumph lay a greater purpose, a preparation for the one destined to lead all into eternal rest. And as they stood together in reverence, the winds of prophecy stirred against their backs, beckoning them onward toward what remained shrouded in divine mystery. As dawn painted the skies with hues of gold, the Israelites gathered upon the walls of Hebron, their hearts aglow with victory and anticipation. Caleb's words still echoed in their minds, invigorating their spirits. For the Lord our God is faithful, and he does not abandon his people, he proclaimed, his countenance radiant as he surveyed the land that had once seemed a fortress of despair. With unyielding resolve, Caleb led the men to inspect their newly acquired inheritance. The fields were ripe, the vineyards lush, and the very earth seemed to sing praises unto their God. See how the Lord blesses the works of our hands, he declared, recounting the promises made through generations, that this land, flowing with milk and honey, was theirs to tread upon and cultivate. Yet, a shadow loomed in the hearts of many. Despite their recent triumph, whispers lingered. What shall we do if the giants rise again? The fear firmed within some, a trembling echo of doubt that threatened to coalesce into a wall between them and the provisions of God. Caleb, sensing the unrest, gathered the leaders and commanded silence. Look not at the giants who walk this land, he urged. These Anakim are but a shadow before the light of our God. For we have seen his hand, and it has delivered us from Pharaoh, from the wilderness, from the very gates of hell. Is he not able to deliver us again? His fervor ignited a spark in the hearts of his brethren. Let us rest and pray, prepare ourselves for what lies ahead. We are to shape the destiny of this land for generations to come. Joshua, standing beside Caleb, nodded in agreement, his own heart stirred by the magnitude of purpose laid before them. That night, amid the crackling of fires and the songs of praise rising like incense to the heavens, they committed the coming days to the Lord. As the moon cast silvery light over the encampment, a sense of divine purpose enveloped them, igniting hope amid the fears that still lingered, but unyielding dark clouds brewed upon the horizon. Rumors began to spread among the Canaanites, murmurs of dread at the power displayed by the Israelites. The news of their conquest reached the tribes and kings of the land, igniting a fierce alliance against them. Warriors from neighboring kingdoms rallied, driven by fear of losing their power and territory to the Israelite God. Behold, they come for war, a watchman cried, and a chill gripped the camp. Anxiety swept among the people, threatening to fracture the unity they had fought so hard to forge. Caleb felt the ground beneath his feet tremble not with the footsteps of their foes, but with the reawakening of his conviction. He rallied the people once more, standing firm. Our God, who is a consuming fire, will not let us falter. Have we not seen his hand protect us? The battles that lie ahead are not ours, but his. Stand firm, O Israel. Our God shall fight for us. His words, infused with divine conviction, found resonance in every heart. Yet, even as they prepared for the uncertainty ahead, Caleb's spirit remained attuned to the deeper whispers of God's plan of vision, yet unfurling. He sensed an undertow of mystery, for the victories they achieved were but signposts to the greater war being waged, that of redemption for all who sought his face. As the morning sun rose anew, illuminating the valley where battles would unfold, Caleb pondered. What has God in mind beyond our present plight? What mighty hand shall lead us further still? And so, with hearts poised toward the horizon, the people stood ready, blessed by their past, bold in their faith, and unaware of the extraordinary path God was about to unfold. For within the depths of their journey, they were destined to uncover what they had yet to grasp, that the very giants before them served a purpose in the tapestry of God's redemptive narrative. As the sun ascended higher, casting warmth upon the land, the Israelites gathered to hear Caleb speak once more, his voice like a clarion call refreshing their weary souls. The day has come to prepare for battle, for the Lord has given us not only this land, but also the strength to conquer it. Let us render our hearts before him and seek his favor. With fervent prayers rising from their lips like incense, the people consecrated themselves anew, acknowledging their need for God's guidance. The elders, with hearts united, took counsel, deliberating how best to approach the coming conflict. We must send forth scouts, Joshua proposed, to gather knowledge of our adversaries, to learn their numbers and strategies. And so it was decided. Men of valor would embark to survey the enemy encampments. As dusk fell, the chosen scouts crept forth silently, their mission weighing heavily upon their hearts. They soon discovered the vastness of the Canaanite alliance, their camps sprawling like a dark sea. Fear crept into their minds. Yet, recalling Caleb's words, they steadied their resolve. We are not alone. The Lord our God goes before us, one whispered, emboldened by the truth. Upon returning, breathless with news, the scouts reported, the warriors are many, their chariots like storms upon the horizon. Yet, their hearts tremble, they fear us as we fear them. This testimony wove through the camp like fire, igniting both trepidation and courage, and joy flickered in remembrance of God's past deliverances. That evening, under the canopy of stars, Caleb gathered the assembly. Brothers and sisters, look at the goodness of our God. He has already laid bare the fear within our foes. Let us march forward, not as those who seek their own glory, but as vessels of his promise. Let the giants come. Our faith shall be our fortress. Encouraged by Caleb's declaration, the people prepared their hearts and minds for the battle to come. They forged weapons anew, together as one body, united in faith and determination, even as doubts stirred at the edges of their thoughts. Mothers prayed fervently for their sons, while fathers spoke valor into the spirits of their children. As dawn approached, the stillness of the night shattered with the solemn sound of the shofar, echoing across the hills. The Israelites, swords gleaming, gathered at the base of the hills surrounding Hebron. With eyes locked upon the distant encampment of their enemies, Caleb raised his sword in one hand and the other toward heaven, proclaiming, "Let us remind these Canaanites that our God is the God of battle. Fear not the giants, for they are but fodder before the Lord." The people responded with a wild shout, a cacophony of faith piercing the darkness, resonating through the valleys. As they surged forward, propelled by a collective spirit of trust, the ground shook beneath their feet, the energy of their unity propelling them along. Yet, as they approached the threshold of conflict, unseen in the face of their charging advance, God's immediate plan was unfolding that they could not yet perceive. For in that very moment, he was stirring the hearts of their enemies, a whispering among the warriors of Canaan that would sow doubt where once was confidence. The tribes begin to scatter. They will break. One of the Canaanite commanders shouted in panic, feeling the heavy hand of God orchestrate fear and disarray. And as the clash of swords rang forth, Caleb's faith ran deeper than mere strength. He sensed that beyond this battle lay a victory not just of land, but of souls. For what was this encounter if not a testament to a greater story unfolding, a narrative of God's omnipotence washing over the earth, calling all to redemption? The fierce battle had begun, yet within the heart of tumult lay a divine mystery, one they could not yet fathom, wherein God's plan would envelop not just the Israelites, but behold, even the giants that challenged them, beckoning salvation in ways unimaginable. As the dust of the battlefield began to swirl amidst the rising sun, the Israelites clashed fiercely with the Canaanite forces, the very ground beneath them trembling like their hearts. The sounds of war echoed in the air, the clash of arms, the cries of warriors, and the shouts of those bowed before the Lord in prayer. Caleb stood resolute, the determination upon his face reflecting the faith that burned within his spirit. "Fear not," Caleb bellowed as he struck down an enemy before him. "For this day the Lord shall deliver our foes into our hands." He wielded his sword with authority, each strike resonating not merely with physical strength, but emboldened by the promise of God. Around him, the men of Israel surged forward, their hearts ignited by the truth of Caleb's words. Joshua, ever the faithful lieutenant, fought beside Caleb, rallying troops and encouraging them to hold their ground. "Remember the deeds of the Lord, he who parted the Red Sea, he who rained manna from heaven. Trust in him." Each word was like a banner raised high against the odds, uniting their hearts in that moment. Amid the tumult, God's presence swept over the battleground like a mighty wind. A fearsome commotion arose among the Canaanites, confusion overtaking them as they looked upon the tenacity and fierce faith of their enemies. They could see it, the Spirit of the living God empowering the Israelites, mighty warriors carried not by swords alone, but by an unwavering faith that transcended fear. "Turn back," cried one Canaanite commander. "They fight as if led by the Almighty. We are but shadows against them." The words struck like thunder, sowing dissent among the ranks of the enemy soldiers. In the midst of chaos, a rumbling took shape. The ground began to quake, not just from the clash of battle, but from the angelic hosts, sent to fight on behalf of God's chosen people. The skies darkened momentarily, and a bright light shone forth, causing all to pause and behold. Caleb, keeping his eyes fixed upon the distant hills, remembered the words of old. "The horse is prepared for the day of battle, but victory belongs to the Lord." Proverbs 21 verse 31. Faith propelled him forward as he rallied to face a giant who now approached, sword raised and laughter like thunder bursting from his lips. "Who is this lowly Caleb?" the giant mocked. "Will your God save you from me?" But Caleb, undeterred beneath the weight of the giant's scorn, responded with fervor, "You come at me with a sword and a spear, but I come at you in the name of the Lord of hosts, the God of the armies of Israel." The ground beneath Caleb trembled, not in fear, but in anticipation. He charged forward, his voice declaring victory before the battle was won. Swiftly, he swung his sword, piercing the heart of the giant with a cry of triumph. The newfound hope surged through the hearts of the Israelites, igniting their spirits. As the Canaanite forces began to scatter, the news spread like wildfire among the Israelites. Victory was within their grasp. They pressed on, encouraged by the mighty acts of the Lord, every swing of their swords testament to faith ignited by the Spirit of God. Yet, in this unfolding triumph, the heavens unveiled a deeper revelation, a divine plan stretching beyond mere conquest. For amidst the chaos and clamor, God was not just delivering his people. He was planting seeds of faith among their foes, even amidst the very giants who sought their destruction. In the face of insurmountable odds, what awaited was not only a carved path to the promised land, but the promise that God was weaving a narrative of redemption that would echo through generations. "What then shall we say to these things?" Caleb thought, his heart swelling with the love of God. "If God is for us, who can be against us?" The battle's tide swayed, and through tumultuous cries and fervent prayers, they pressed onward, aware that God's ultimate plan bore not just the mark of victory, but the eternal tapestry of faith, woven through both Israel and the nations, beckoning all toward salvific grace. As the dust settled upon the victorious battlefield of Hebron, Caleb and the children of Israel stood in awe of the mighty hand of God. Their hearts brimmed with gratitude, knowing that they had been delivered from the grips of fear and given dominion over lands once occupied by giants. "The Lord has surely delivered us," Caleb proclaimed, his voice resonating with conviction as he gazed upon the remnants of their enemies. "For we have seen his faithfulness unfold, a testament to his promise that is indeed true." In that solemn moment, Joshua stepped beside him, both men catching their breath amidst the echoes of triumph. "This victory resonates not only with our present battles," he stated, "but heralds the dawn of a greater purpose. The Lord has been preparing our hearts, our spirits, for a journey far beyond the mere conquest of this land." Caleb nodded, considering the deeper truths that lay beneath the surface of their triumph. "Indeed, my brother, What we have reclaimed is a foothold for the generations to come. Yet, we must not grow weary. The land is rich, and it is ours to cultivate. We shall build homes, create community, and above all, we shall honor our God who led us from bondage. In the days that followed, as they began to settle into the hills of Hebron, the faithful Israelites rejoiced, their spirits uplifted by the very soil beneath their feet, soil that once bore the weight of their fears, but now thrummed with the promise of future generations. Caleb gathered the leaders, saying, "Let us establish cities of refuge, places where all may come and find safety. Let all who call upon the name of the Lord dwell among us." A chorus of amens echoed in agreement, for they understood the importance of community rooted in divine promise. As they cultivated the vineyards and tended the fields, word of their conquests spread throughout the neighboring lands. The hearts of those who had once opposed them began to quiver with whispered fears, for they could see the might of God interwoven in every victory of his people. Even some among their foes took notice, a lingering doubt mingling with the tremors of fear. One day, a group of emissaries from a distant land, once enemies, approached the camp, eyes wide with apprehension, yet yearning for peace. Caleb welcomed them. "Come, let us reason together. You have witnessed our battles and the faith of our God. Let us forge alliances based on respect and companionship rather than conflict." More intrigued than threatened, they accepted his hand, realizing that the true giant before them was not flesh and blood, but the glorious grace of God capturing hearts. As Caleb continued to honor the divine mission in cultivating faith, he sensed a gentle whisper in his spirit calling forth a greater revelation. A descendant prophesied to emerge from the lineage of Judah, destined to unite nations and restore hope. How majestic the tapestry of God's design unfolded, thriving not merely in the flesh, but through an eternal covenant steeped in love and redemption. Years flowed like the streams that meandered through the land, and as Caleb looked upon the faces of young Israelites, he spoke with fervor, "Remember who you are. You are a chosen generation, a people set apart. Each victory carries the weight of promise. Your faith secures the future of countless souls." The generations blossomed in the land, cultivating faith alongside the bountiful crops, staying steadfast against the creeping temptations that threatened to unravel their bond with the Almighty. As time pressed onward, the cycle of legacy continued, deep-rooted in the victories hard-won by those who had gone before them. Yet even as the years marched forward, Caleb's spirit remained ever vigilant, his heart longing for the fullness of the promise. Through time, he would often recount the tale of conquering giants to the children gathered around evening fires, assuring them that, just as God had risen before them, so too would he rise before those still to come. And in the swells of destiny and promise, Caleb's voice echoed through the annals of time, a testament of faith unparalleled, a reminder that as long as the Lord's love endures, his promises will always bear fruit, yielding hope to the weary and courage to the fearful. "This land is not merely our inheritance, but a legacy of faith," he would proclaim, his eyes shining brightly as he urged others to trust and believe. Now is the moment for you to become part of this unfolding narrative of faith. To deepen your connection with God's Word, you need to subscribe now and stay linked with powerful biblical stories. Leave a like right now to help spread God's truth through the algorithm, illuminating the hearts of many. Comment below your reflections and let me know how Caleb's incredible journey has transformed your faith. And don't wait even one more second to share this powerful testimony with at least 5 friends who need to hear the glorious truth of God. Together, let us walk forward, fueled by faith, toward the promises that bring us home.